How's it going, everybody? We're doing something a little fun and a little different here on the channel. Way back when I started a couple months ago, I showed you my Blu-ray collection. It wasn't really something that I thought a lot of people would be very interested in, but people seemed to dig it. They liked that they were getting the glimpse into some stuff that I had, so I thought it might be fun. A couple of weeks ago, as you may have heard here on the channel, I took a trip home to Arkansas to see my mom and see some other family. We had room in the car, and I was able to bring back a lot more stuff than I had originally intended. So I thought it might be fun to kind of do a show and tell of that kind of stuff. It's a lot of stuff from when I was a kid, comic books and cards and all kinds of fun stuff, the stuff I used to collect, and I just thought it might be fun to kind of share it with you. From what I've seen when I've shared this stuff in the past, a lot of you may have had this stuff too. Plus, it's just kind of a fun sneak peek, like a window into the past. So this is a childhood treasure trove deep dive. And let's start with actually a couple of things that I was not able to pack. One thing that I left there were my high school yearbooks, but fear not, because I feel like you have to start with a little bit of embarrassment on these things. And so I thought I would show you 4 years of Dan growing up. So it's an evolution of Dan, really. First, you have my freshman year photo. Look at that, young, fresh-faced kid ready to take on the world. Then we got sophomore year, you know, a little bit maturing. This is wants to look older Dan. Then my junior year, which was about as rebellious as I got. The hair's a little longer back when I still had it. Just cool Dan, although not that cool, let's be honest. And then my senior year photo. This is like this is perhaps Dan at his preppiest. Yeah, that's me in high school. But then something else I wanted to show you that it stayed there is a project that Mara and myself and really everyone in the family at some point worked on for, I think, 2 years? Yeah. 2 years is this Star Wars puzzle. We bought the Star Wars puzzle 1 year around Christmas. We did not finish it until the Christmas 2 years later. It was on my mom's dining room table she put a tablecloth over it and served Thanksgiving 1 year. Whenever Mara and I were there, we visited several times over those couple of years. We finally finished it. We saved it. It is now hanging on the wall. So this is the Star Wars puzzle that we worked on for many, many years. Really, my mom's dining room table is the one that you have to thank for that one being there because she let it stay there for so many years. But while we're talking about embarrassing pictures, I brought a few more. Let's see. So this is one of my senior year pictures. Speaking of cool Dan, look at that. Cool Dan's got that leather jacket. I still have this exact leather jacket, by the way. I still have it. Mara, can you? Okay, Mara's going to go get it. Check out this leather jacket, all right? This is Dan in... This would have been taken in probably the year 2000, maybe early 2001. These are like the senior pictures that your mom has taken so that you can send them to your grandparents. Oh, thank you, Mara. I still have the same. Why I kept this, I think it's a good jacket. I thought I was cool wearing this.
It looks like you're acting like you're in Top Gun.
I did. Well, I thought it was like first of all, look at this like red, red lining going on in this jacket. Strangely, I think it fits me better now than it did when I was in high school. But I've never been able to bring myself to throw this out. I think it's a nice jacket. I think, the lining needs to be redone a little bit, but it's a good jacket. I don't know. I like this jacket. Class of 2001. And then this is just me in my natural habitat. This is junior year, maybe senior year of high school in my bedroom. You got, this is called a landline telephone. It used to be that you couldn't talk on the phone unless it was plugged into the wall. So this is me on the phone. As you can tell, I'm very happy. This may have been staged. I don't really remember talking on the phone that much. But what I also love is if you look back there, you've got my posters, which is, you got Saving Private Ryan, you got The Lost World back there, you've got a big Pulp Fiction black and white poster, and then like the Something About Mary and Mask of Zorro, like I cut those out of Blockbuster Video calendars that you could buy every year.
Behind your head is the Jaws poster.
Oh yeah, that's right. And behind my head is the Jaws poster that is in my apartment to this day. I took it to college. Everywhere that I've lived, it's been hung up. So that's another poster. That's probably over 20 years old at this point. So something else I found, this may actually be the oldest possession that I still have, is this American Tail. If you know me and my history with movies, and American Tail was the first movie that I ever remember seeing in a theater. I went and saw it with my grandmother when it came out, and this is Fievel. This is the main character. I've had this my entire life that I can remember. A lot of sentimental attachment, obviously. This movie meant a lot to me. It's the first movie I remember seeing. And a big emotional attachment also to my grandmother who passed away a couple of years ago. Actually, Fievel used to have a blue cap because he wears a blue cap, a lot like me, in the movie, and I had removed it years and years ago, probably when I was a kid, but that actually has stayed at home with my grandmother's ashes, and it's just sort of a very sentimental attachment between the two of us, but I decided to bring Fievel back, so this is maybe the oldest thing that I own that is, that was bought during my lifetime, so Fievel from An American Tail. So let's look at a couple things, collectibles, stuff like that. I collected a bunch of stuff when a lot of people did. We were told when we were kids, these collectibles, cards and comics, the older stuff, they didn't make a whole bunch of it, and a lot of people threw it out. So the comics and stuff became really collectible, especially in the 80s and 90s. So we were told as kids, like, not only is it fun, but if you collect this stuff, it's going to be worth a lot of money. But the problem with telling everybody that is then everybody starts collecting it, and then it's not rare, and it's not really worth that much money at all. But I didn't really do it for the money. It would have been nice if it would have been worth something. And I have a couple that I'm going to show you that kind of are, but not that much. But this was just stuff that I spent hours doing. I have boxes and boxes of baseball cards. Of course, any 90s kid worth his weight is going to have a Bo Jackson card. You had to have a Bo Jackson card. Bo knows football. Bo knows baseball. This was something that there was actually an anniversary of. I saw on Twitter not that long ago. They would make cards for anything. You can make a card out of anything. One time Nolan Ryan got into a fight with the baseball player Robin Ventura, and they made a card out of it. Random baseball fights. You get its own card. General Colin Powell, hot off of Operation Desert Storm, had his own baseball cards. So I had a lot of baseball cards, but the ones that I really spent a lot of time collecting were comic book cards, stuff like that. So there's all different kinds of series. Like every year, the different labels will put out different ones. This is one that was done by Skybox. It was a Marvel series, and the bad guy that they're showing here, Thanos. Thanos wasn't a big deal when I was a kid. Like, they'd done the Infinity War, Infinity Gauntlet storyline, but Thanos wasn't on the level of a lot of the Marvel villains. But this is what they have to say, because on the back of this one, they have like little stats. They have stats about each one of the characters. All right, so it says Thanos, strength 6, speed 6, energy projection 7, intelligence 5. Ouch. Sorry, Thanos, you're dumb. This is the Marvel 1992 series. This was another one that I really liked. I've always liked this card. This one just of the X-Men. And, they'd have individuals. They'd have teams. DC put out a line that was like all the different eras of superheroes. So this one was the one for Superman, Modern Age Superman. And they had Golden Age Superman. Like all of the different labels would do different series every year. These are ones I kept, and don't ask me why. I kept these because you would write into Crunch and Munch, the kind of Cracker Jack type stuff. Crunch and Munch, I don't know if you remember that. And you would get your own series of cards. So I'm sure I probably sent in some proofs of purchase for Crunch and Munch and got these. Now, the one I don't have is, at that time, it was just called Cage. Not Luke Cage, just Cage. But it was the series of cards. So you had one for that. You had one for Wolverine here. You had Storm. Storm had her own Crunch and Munch card. Hulk had his own Crunch and Munch card. Of course, Spider-Man at that time, kind of a coy pose from Spider-Man there. Spider-Man had his own Crunch and Munch card. Not Coy Jandreau, no. Although he probably has these too. So, you would just write in, like, cereals boxes would have different cards and stuff like that. I mean, everything had cards. So, like, for example, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Every movie had its own set of cards. So, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure had cards. Dick Tracy, the movie had its own series of cards, which I collected. We had this is one of my favorite ones. This is a Jurassic Park card for when Jurassic Park came out. It's got a picture of a raptor and it just says, "It hungers." I love that. It hungers. Let's look at. Okay, we're gonna look at these as a series in a little bit, but RoboCop 2 had its own series of trading cards, which were these were meant for children. These were sold to children. Now RoboCop had like an animated series, but these were the movies, the R-rated movies sold to children. One of them featuring just straight up dead children on it. This is just a straight up dead kid on this RoboCop card. Hobb bites it. But this is my favorite. This was sent to kids, and we're gonna look at a couple more of these. Toxic Nightmare. Hey kids, do you like trading cards? Look at this guy's flesh melting off of his bones. Have fun, Johnny. This came in a pack with that stale, terrible bubble gum. Yeah, Toxic Nightmare, the sad death of a meal for the kids, right? This is one from Jurassic Park. These were from the Kenner toy line, so I'm sure this came with the Dr. Alan Grant action figure. Safe when small. I'm pretty sure this is depicting the murder of Dr. Alan Grant by a family of small pteranodons. Yeah. Imagine a fully grown pteranodon attacking Grant. Well, I don't really have to imagine because you're giving me a pretty good picture there. So this also came with an action figure. I have a lot of Star Trek figures. You see them behind me a lot on the set. This one came with the Captain Jean-Luc Picard figure. You'd get a trading card with that. Star Trek actually did a lot of different trading cards. But this is my favorite. This is like from one of the Skybox sets, which are like the glossy cards. That's how they got you to pay more for them when they were a kid. This is, and it's against some kind of like airbrushed background. This is a trading card devoted to Counselor Deanna Troi and Dr. Beverly Crusher doing space aerobics. Just their own card. This is just their own card. Just Bev and Dee hanging out, doing aerobics. Let's see what the back here says. Deanna Troi's favorite guilty pleasure is a bowl of chocolate ice cream. In her words, I never met a chocolate I didn't like. She prefers real chocolate to the dietetic substitutes available through the ship's replicators. To make up for her indulgence, Deanna maintains a strict workout regimen, often with Dr. Beverly Crusher. And then on the back here, you see them, warming up for their calisthenics. These are the things that would have trading cards. Just fictional space characters exercising. But then this is one of my favorite series. Terminator 2 had their own trading cards, and there are a few that this one I've always just loved. I just love this image with like the eye servo, glares red, and it's basically these things would just take you through the movie. So I've always thought that was cool. James Cameron has his own trading card. James Cameron, director of the Terminator. I think this card probably said director James Cameron, and he went to the trading card company. It's just like producer director. And then this is a great shot of Sarah Connor, but like I don't know why they named this. This is a Sarah Connor card, but it's labeled Sarah Connor, former waitress. Not Sarah Connor, Mother of the Resistance. Not Sarah Connor, Survivor. Sarah Connor, former waitress. We have some like other full sets of cards, but I didn't want to put all the cards together. So I wanted to move to my real passion growing up when I was collecting things, which was comic books. And I have a couple that are kind of interesting and a couple that are just pretty funny. This one I can't really take credit for because we found this in my grandmother's house. But this actually turned out to be the first Mighty Thor comic book. It was branded, I think, Journey into Mystery prior to this book coming out, but then it was renamed The Mighty Thor. So this is actually the first issue of Thor's comic book. You've probably seen this cover maybe, but it's not in great shape. It's probably not worth a whole heck of a lot. I'm sure a mint condition version would be worth a lot. And then this is one I didn't even know was a thing or that I had until a couple of years ago, but Harley Quinn, who was introduced in Batman the Animated Series, I loved that show. I collected the comic book. There was a comic book series called The Batman Adventures. And so this is the 12th issue of the comic book series. It was called The Batgirl Adventures. And this was the first comic book appearance ever of Harley Quinn. I didn't even know this was a thing. And then a few years ago, I was looking it up. I was like, oh yeah, Harley Quinn. So again, this one I guess is worth a few bucks, but I just think it's fun. I just like having them. These are just kind of fun X-Men comic books that I enjoy having. I just love the cover art here. Sentinel stuff I really like. This is part of the Days of Future Past storyline, this one. I just think they're fun. I like flipping through those comic books. This is another one. Like, this really has been the hallmark of the Harley Quinn mythology, really, to this date, going into the movies and everything else. But Mad Love, I love this comic book. I love this story. It was a special edition of the Batman Adventures. This is one that is one of my favorite Superman stories. Just a 3-issue limited edition. It was called Superman Doomsday Hunter Prey. And it basically was about Superman being forced to face down Doomsday. Essentially, it was the kind of the emotional resolution of the Doomsday Superman storyline, the death of Superman storyline. So it involved Hank Henshaw, Cyborg, and kind of bringing that to an end. It gave the origin story of Doomsday, who was essentially this perfect killing machine who evolved over years. It was actually a Kryptonian invention. It answered a lot of questions, and I love that, we've got the Superman on the front, and then each of these issues also on the back, you get progressively closer as well. You've got him facing off against Doomsday. I know that there's a lot of mixed feelings about the death of Superman's storyline, because a lot of people think that it was essentially a publicity stunt, a way to get people to buy comic books, which it was, let's be honest. But I'm a big fan of that whole storyline, the death of Superman, but particularly Reign of the Supermen. I still think that you can make a great movie out of that with the 4 people, and that's where we first met Steel, and is any of them Superman, and which one's real? Like, I just love that storyline so much. I wish that they could have figured out a way to make that a movie. I don't think that's ever going to happen, but that is the resolution, really, to that storyline. So I've been a big fan of that one for a while. So if you haven't read Superman Doomsday Hunter Prey, I recommend it. This is a fun one. It's just, Alpha Flight. It's Wolverine fighting the Canucks up in Canada. This, I think, was adapted from another story, but again, everybody had a comic book, and so these were comics that you could get from sending in proof of purchase from the Batman Sweetened cereal. There's at the bottom of these here, you can see the Batman Sweetened cereal thing, and this was just the untold legend of the Batman, and it basically kind of went into his backstory. It retold the origin story. It's also a mystery, and it's kind of about somebody trying to drive Batman crazy. Again, I think that this storyline itself appeared in different comic book issues, but I've always thought this was cool because you could only get this through this particular version through the Batman serial, and I think this one had an audio tape that went with it. It was like a radio play. So those are just, I'm a Batman nut. So when I talk about collectibles, this is one of the things that they would sell you. This was $2.95, which it doesn't sound like a lot now, but when you're 10 years old, like $3 for one comic book times however many comic books are coming out every week, that started to stack up. 1993, yeah, so I was 10. This was Adventures of Superman number 500, I believe, which was like the return. Superman returns from the dead, and of course they sent it. They put it in this pouch that they said, like, well, you can't open the pouch, because if you open the pouch, then it loses all its resale value. But of course, as a kid, you'd want to read the comics, so what do? You buy 2. So I did. I bought 2. I have one that I opened and read. This is one that is still in the pouch that I've never opened. So this is they literally were able to sell you comic books that you could not read. This was how smart they were selling comic books back in the 1990s. A lot of these too are just, this is just a great piece of Batman art. This is Batman Adventures number 22 with Two-Face. I just love the art style of the 90s Batman. The comic book was done in that same style. I'm just a big fan of that particular illustration. There is a series coming to Disney Plus called What If, which is kind of set around the MCU, but really it's about what if this happened, what if that happened. Now, I don't think they're gonna be able to get dark, but this is, I loved What If comic books. They ran in 2 different sets, or 2 different series, but this is like the quintessential What If storyline, which is just like an anguished Professor X screaming to the heavens that he killed the X-Men who are all dead. This was What If. What If is a very dark comic book. Everyone always died. It was very rarely hopeful. And it kind of, I don't know, maybe for kids it allow you to indulge your dark side, but I wonder if the series is going to be able to get this dark. I liked the comic book because it was this dark. So this was like, if you're ever going to say, hey, point to like what were the What If comic books? It was this. It was just anguish and death and destruction. And again, this is just another great piece of Superman art that I love. This was the return of Clark Kent to being Superman again. He had the long hair, which he had for a while. This is in the right after the era of the black suit Superman, which we're gonna get back with Zack Snyder, with the Snyder cut of Justice League. But I just love this art. I love this image of Superman. Speaking of stunts, this is the issue of Batman when Bane breaks his back. I mean, we've seen this now dramatized in Dark Knight Rises. This was a big event for Batman. This one I don't think paid off as well as Superman. For me, Superman, the death of Superman was the buildup. The buildup was way less than the payoff. I love the payoff. This, I thought, Batman being driven crazy by all the Arkham people and hitting his breaking point was way more interesting, and then leading up to this point than afterwards, which was like, oh, then Azrael, and I just didn't like the follow through. And then, as I mentioned, like, comic books were like kind of a big thing, so everything had a comic book, everything had a trading card, everything had a comic book. So Hook, the movie Hook, had a 4-episode adaptation that was done by Marvel, so or I should say a 4-issue adaptation. So it's literally just the movie Hook, but illustrated in comic book form. So sometimes they had the actors, sometimes they didn't have the actors. I don't think that's a particularly good Robin Williams likeness, but hey, what are you gonna do? Jurassic Park had its own, and I actually have always liked the cover art for these Jurassic Park ones. Topps Comics, who did trading cards, did this one. I mean, this one's a little misleading. This is basically the fantasy sequence for with the raptor, here and here, the kid that Dr. Grant is scaring. So I think they were kind of reaching, but what is your thing from the first 25 minutes of Jurassic Park going to be? Like, helicopter landing? And then this one, I just like a bunch of floating heads and floating faces with a velociraptor, the T-Rex attacking the Jeep, and then we've got the great finale with Tim and Lex being cornered. Again, the art on these things was it was fine. It was pretty standard comic book art. There's one adaptation I'm going to show you in a second that actually has art that I love quite a bit. Speaking of 1993, you have both seminal events for 90s kids that happened in 1993, at least for a lot of us. I could not partake in the second one. You have Jurassic Park on the front, and prepare yourself for Mortal Monday on September 13th on the back. Mortal Kombat, which just everywhere you looked was just advertising Mortal Kombat. I think that's why I couldn't do it, because they were advertising it to kids, and then parents found out what it was, and they lost their minds, at least where I was from. This is an adaptation that I really like. Dennis O'Neil and Jerry Ordway did this adaptation of Batman '89, and this is one where I think it's a great adaptation, but like the art in this comic book I love. I think that the art in this thing is really, really cool. I mean, it was printed on glossy paper. You have the character, it was drawn accurate to the actors, so it looked like the movie, but it's a very stylized version of the movie. And I just love how they captured the scenes. It's like watching the film, but they don't just copy the angles from the movie. They do make it a little bit more comic booky and a little bit more of its own. And then one thing that I just really love is if I can find a good picture here, I just love the way that they drew the Tim Burton Batman. I just think it's a great meld of how he looked in the movie and how he works comic book accurate. I've always loved how the movie was drawn in this particular version. It may be my favorite adaptation, definitely of a Batman movie. I have a few more. I have the one for Batman Returns, which was, I'm sure it probably came out in a glossy version, but for whatever reason I didn't buy it. And then Batman Forever, which I did buy in the kind of glossy higher version. This one's also by Dennis O'Neil. This one's not quite as good, I don't think, as the Batman '89 one. I think that it's okay. It certainly adds. I think they're trying to do the Schumacher, the way that Schumacher does things and the way that the movie itself looks. So it's kind of a combination of both. But I really do think that the Tim Burton Batman '89 one is the best of these. They did one for Star Trek Generations. My favorite with this one is it's very obvious that Captain Picard was supposed to be holding a phaser in this picture. And at some point that phaser was not drawn in. So he looks like he's just offering a helping hand. I don't know what he's supposed to be doing, but I think he's supposed to be pointing a phaser. Maybe some parent groups had a problem with that. One thing that I do think is really interesting is that you have to do these things months ahead of time. It includes what was the deleted opening to the movie. So this scene with Captain Kirk like orbital parachuting in was not the opening of the film, but it was meant to be. So the official comic book version has an opening to the movie that did not happen. When I talk about collectibles, this is one of the ones that was like everyone told you that you had to collect it when they relaunched X-Men #1. And this was the problem with collecting was they would put out these things that they said were important and that you had to collect them, but then they printed like 5 million of these. Like I probably had 50 copies of this comic book because it would be in every package of comic books, like get a free comic book inside. It would be X-Men. But I'm a big fan of this art. Like I said, I like the art of this year. I'll do it for this camera so you can kind of see everything. I just really like how they drew everything. I love how they drew the X-Men. I like just the color, you've got, obviously Gambit. This is pretty much the animated series lineup. I just like the style. I like the style at this time, which is one of the reasons why, I just keep it hanging around because I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. So those are the comic books. What do you think? Should we do cards? Miscellaneous stuff? Let's do some miscellaneous stuff. This is stuff that just, is laying around. You find it around the house. Again, I would not normally think that anyone would be interested in this stuff, but with the movies and stuff, people seem to enjoy it. So let's not. Why not? Let's show it off, right? This is not mine. We just found it. It's just a recording of the first man on the moon. It's just like a commemorative recording of the Apollo 11 mission. Narrated by Hugh Downs. So when we get the record player up and running, I'd like to actually kind of listen to this because is it a double record? Let's see. It's got First Man on the Moon, 2 copies of First Man on the Moon. Oh, and a copy of Johnny Cash's San Quentin and A Boy Named Sue.
No way.
That's almost as cool. Hey, we also got some Johnny Cash. I'll take it. Why not, right? This is fun. Again, like I said, when you're mass marketing something, there's everything. I don't know if they do a lot of these anymore, but this is the junior novelization of Jurassic Park. So you had the original book Jurassic Park, you had the movie Jurassic Park, you had the Jurassic Park figures, you had the Jurassic Park comic book, but then like they just write a version for kids. So this is basically the movie but written for kids. So they sand the edges off a little bit, but that's the Jurassic Park movie book for kids. My cousin actually got this for me, Young Frankenstein. This is the LP, like the soundtrack album from the movie, which I think is pretty cool because it's got the pictures inside, and it's a combination of the like snippets of dialogue from the movie and the actual score from the movie, which I think, by the way, is a wonderful score. John Morris did that score. But this was a gift from my cousin because he and his dad, my uncle, and also my uncle and I really shared a bond over this movie. And he passed away a couple of years ago. So this is a wonderful remembrance of him and a great gift from my cousin. And you'll probably see this behind me here on the set. This one is the Star Wars 20th anniversary commemorative magazine. Back in 1997, when Star Wars turned 20, they released this to commemorate the occasion. This was a great time for Star Wars fandom. I really can't underscore what kind of hope we had. The prequels were being made, but we didn't know anything about them yet. This is my favorite was this. I think this is probably why I bought this magazine. Blast to the Past. It was about all the wonderful and exciting changes that were coming to the Star Wars trilogy with the special editions that were going to be released that year. And it was literally just about all these fun, new, and exciting things that were going to happen. I mean, look, they're adding Jabba the Hutt. By the way, kids, this was the Jabba that we got back in 1997. If you think your Blu-ray Jabba looks bad, this was the Jabba we got with the Star Wars Special Edition when it was first released. That was like 4 or 5 versions of Jabba ago. This, by the way, if you haven't seen it, that's the deleted scene that they rotoscoped over or whatever and put digital Jabba. But it's like, look at Jabba the Hutt. At that time, it's like, oh, cool. I was 14. I didn't know any better. It's like, yeah, you're going to get to see more of Mos Eisley. We're putting these cool creatures in there. Look at that. Isn't that going to be fun? These fun, new, and cool creatures in the Star Wars universe. Again, We had 3 movies. This was a time of optimism and hope. We saw a dewback and we were like, yeah, I want that dewback to be in Star Wars. We didn't know. 20 years, 3 movies. Pretty crazy. So yeah, anyway, this is just a look back at like Star Wars toys and stuff like that. Yeah, I also like that it's this picture of George Lucas appears to be a wizard. It's got things floating all around him, and yeah, the magician George Lucas. We didn't know. It was a simpler time, simpler Star Wars. And then this was something that my mom got me. You know, this was like this blew my mind when I was a kid. I was probably maybe 13 or 14, but one year she was able to track down. I mean, you couldn't just buy this stuff off the internet. Really, at that time, she found this in a store, I think somewhere in Tennessee, but she got me an autographed picture of Steven Spielberg, which absolutely blew my mind. If you know me, you know that Steven Spielberg is one of my heroes, and this was like this was kind of a big extravagance for us growing up, for my mom to get growing up, because you know, these are very difficult to find. This was held a place of honor in my room until I went to college. And then I think I was like, oh, I'm not taking that to college because who knows? I don't know who's going to be there. And then I just never had room or time to bring it back until now. And then this is fun. This is a phaser toy from Star Trek The Next Generation. It was made by Playmates, I believe. Yeah, Playmates Toys, 1992, Paramount Pictures. Now, when I brought it home, it had no batteries in it. Then when we put batteries in it, the sound worked, but the lighting didn't work. But because Mara is a genius, she fixed the wiring in this thing, so now it actually works. You can actually fire the phaser. So I will say, you know, they don't. This is, I mean, listen to this. This is a nice solid piece of plastic. Yes, the wiring was easy to fix. This thing is what, 30 years old? Over 30 years old almost.
Yeah, you're super old.
I'm super old. Not 30 years old. Not quite 30 years old, but we're getting there. Yeah. Good job. Good job, Playmates. It was a well-made toy, so there you go. Speaking of Star Trek The Next Generation, what Christmas tree is complete without Jean-Luc Picard standing in a hallway hanging from the boughs of your Christmas tree? You'll know that it is the Yuletide season when you see this Englishman mid-stride calmly telling you to engage in festivities and holiday presents. Jesus is number one in this house. Hallmark made so many ornaments.
They still make them.
They do. Everything had a trading card. Everything had a comic book. Everything had an ornament. All right. Before we get to the cards, which is the last thing to talk about, I guess I should probably tease this, which is this is going to be a goal. This is going to be a goal for all of us. As I was going through everything, I found this tape that I actually forgot that I had. If you'll look on the side here, it says Entertainment Report. This is, I don't know exactly what's on this. Other than these are the entertainment reports that I filed in high school when I worked. We had a high school TV program. It was a co-venture between the high school and the city, so we were on public access, and so I did movie reviews for the high school newscast, and then I also did some stuff, and I don't know if it's on here, but like just like an entertainment show, a few of them where I'm just like reviewing movies and stuff like that. 17, I think, 16, 17, 18 years old. I have not seen this since 2001, probably, when I graduated high school and when also I last had a VCR. I don't know what is on this tape, but I'm going to make this commitment to you. This will be our celebration. Once we hit 100,000 subscribers here on YouTube, I will have this tape digitized, and we will watch it together. This will not be a very enjoyable experience for me. Again, I don't know what's on the tape. I think I'll probably have Mara look at it Maybe I won't even watch it. Maybe we'll watch it together. We'll do like a watch along here. I'll tape myself. It'll be a live recording. But this is good. This will be the reward. I will embarrass myself horrifically when we hit 100,000 subscribers and have this digitized, and we will watch whatever version of myself is on this tape when we do that. So a little goal. Who knows? I mean, we're over 75K now. That could happen.
Hashtag VHS 100K.
VHS 100K. Hashtag VHS 100K. Once we get there, let's see what's on there. I don't know what it is, but I'm betting it's embarrassing. Okay, I collected a bunch of cards. A lot of them I put in hours, weeks of time to get the full set. That was kind of like the holy grail when you were a kid. Anyone could collect cards, but it took a real aficionado, especially when you had to go do the dirty work of like hunting these things down individually, going to comics and card shows and just trading with your friends to get a full set of cards. So there are a few things that I did get a full set of cards of. This is one that's just a full set of X-Men cards. I was very much into X-Men, very much driven by the animated series. So I was always looking for... Sorry, it's like a weatherman. I'm still getting this down. I was always looking for new X-Men stuff. So, and again, what I liked about these cards a lot is they weren't just taking images from comic books. A lot of these were original pieces of artwork that they would do for these cards. So, you know, when you're collecting these, it's like getting your own series of exclusive images for some of your favorite heroes and some of your favorite villains. This one obviously was kind of subdivided between heroes and villains. So I always loved, you know, it's the thrill of the hunt. It's like, I need number 91. Also, a great way for them to get you to keep buying cards. Because if you're like 5 short, then you're going to keep buying packs of cards because you're going to forever be in search of that one elusive card that you didn't know you needed until you knew you needed it. These are maybe my favorite cards ever made. They made a few different series of these, but the first one I think is the best, and I don't think any of the other ones came close to how cool these were. This was a series that came out in the early 90s. These were a set of cards called Marvel Masterpieces. They were made in the early 90s, and the whole thing was like these were like a premium card. So they were glossy, and these weren't just, you know, comic book art. They had people do paintings of these characters. And this is some of my favorite artwork for any of these characters. I mean, that Daredevil picture is one of my favorite Daredevil pieces of Daredevil art. You look there at Captain America. That's a great picture. I love how all of these different heroes and villains were basically, you know, each one has its own style. That Hulk drawing is one of my favorite Hulk drawings. There's so many pieces of art in here. And they also released a comic book series that had these in full size, full comic book size. I have that tucked away somewhere too. But these are still, I think, some of the coolest cards ever made, and really just some of the best artwork. And also fun to see so many of these people, these characters who were really not big deals when this was made, now are at the tip of people's tongues. You know, like people know a lot of these characters that were just so obscure at the time. So yeah, the Punisher was a big deal when these cards came out. Everybody knew the Punisher. He was a big Marvel guy. But you know, Thanos, as I mentioned, like Thanos wasn't a huge draw. I love this picture of Spider-Man. Obviously, Spider-Man always popular. Silver Surfer, people knew who he was. But like Ultron, down there in the middle, the bottom middle, Ultron was not a major hero. Ultron was kind of just a dude. It was like, oh, he was like filler. So I like that even now, retroactively going back, you see all these characters who were not big deals then, but have become big deals to a whole new generation of Marvel fans. That style was kind of taken up by a lot of other folks. So this is one that I've always loved. This is basically the same approach, but it was for Star Trek. So it was taking all of these major Star Trek characters and doing really fancy artwork on them, and different ships and different episodes, iconic moments, etc. I again, these are big ones. I was a big Star Trek fan. I always collected these, but I think these are also some great Star Trek artwork. Particularly, I want a full-sized drawing of this. I want to hang a painting-sized version of this picture of Commander Riker playing the trombone for a bemused Counselor Troy. I just that is
You don't want the Mark Twain one next to it?
no. I mean the Mark Twain one is nice, but this is the one you want. This is the one you want hanging above the fireplace. That would be my millionaire money. Is we would get a full version of that. But yeah, but I also love that, like, this is a combination of, at the time it was basically the original series, the movies, and the Next Generation. But I love that this is a combination of all of them. It treated them all as one big universe. These are like some of the memorable aliens. Remember her? Star Trek V, right? The Catwoman, yeah, from Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. I don't know what artist did this one, but I feel like they had a good time doing that one. Oh, who'd you get? Captain Picard. Who'd you get? Oh, I got the Catwoman. But yeah, really cool, fun stuff. Kind of they went with the premium route. A lot of this was done like, oh, this has got to be premium experience. This is another set of Marvel cards that I'm a big fan of, that I just love the artwork of this era. Again, this is more of a comic book type era, but this is during the time of Black Suit Spider-Man. But I've just always loved these as just really awesome comic book images of Marvel. It's weird because my favorite characters, individual characters, are DC characters. Batman is by far and away my favorite character, and Superman is a huge favorite of mine. But I've always found that when it comes to just like art and a lot of actually storylines, I tend to draw more towards Marvel stuff. So I have a lot of DC collectibles, but I actually just love the art and the look of Marvel characters a little bit more, and I always have, which is why when I'm doing this, a lot of the stuff I have is Marvel, because I don't know, for whatever reason, I've just always been more drawn to the character designs. I think that's Dormammu. Yeah, we got Dormammu here. Very obscure character at that time. I just love these character designs, and I think it may also just be that Marvel put out better collectible sets and stuff when I was growing up. It may have been what kind of drew me to Marvel itself. It's a very weird thing. I've just always kind of been drawn to the Marvel aesthetic, I guess, a little bit more. Having said that, I really do enjoy a lot of DC stuff as well, but I just think Marvel was doing a lot of great cards and stuff growing up. Okay, so this is the last thing. I know. If you're sticking around, thank you so much. God bless you. I don't know why, but this is, as I mentioned, RoboCop 2 had its own series of movie cards. I don't have the full set, but I have a lot of them. And the first several of these cards was a recap of the first movie, RoboCop. And again, when I mentioned they sold things to kids, these were marketed to children. 88 movie cards and 11 stickers. It was a Topps movie card series. Card number 3, Dead Body. There you go. This is the first page. So these are the first 9 cards. Card number 3, Dead Body. Card number 6, this was cut out of the movie because it was too graphic. But they put it on a card for children. Murphy gets his arm blown off. Then you've got this. Look, this is your 7-year-old children collecting this card of Alex Murphy's bloody hand stump with his decimated, obliterated hand shattered and spread all over the ground. Next to the baseball cards. There would be riots in the street if this were to see the light of day right now. This was how my generation was brought up, man. They threw us right into the kiddie pool. I mentioned there's Toxic Nightmare. Hey, do you have nightmares? Too bad, Johnny. There's a flesh man getting his bones eaten off by acid. Go eat your vitamins. Don't forget to get those chewable Flintstone vitamins and the murder cards. So that's it. That completes the treasure trove. Again, thank you for watching this. I hope that maybe it's for nostalgia. Maybe it's because you're bored. Either way, I like it, and I'm glad that you stuck around. So thanks for watching. If you want to see even more of this stuff, you can check me out over on Patreon, patreon.com/Dan Murrell. I'm doing this and a bunch of other cool stuff. You can get early looks at what I'm doing here on YouTube, monthly movie club, movie commentaries. Maybe we'll do one for RoboCop 2 at some point. Who knows? And then a bunch of new stuff that I'm going to launch pretty soon. So I'm excited for you to check that out. And I want to thank just a few of my producer level patrons who really help me keep things running over there and have been providing such great feedback. The producers are the ones who get my monthly movie commentary. It's been a lot of great fun to talk to patrons from all of the levels over on Patreon. And of course, thank you for watching me here on YouTube. Join me next time. I'm still ramping up, getting some more reviews going as movies are kind of starting to come out again. So watch for reviews, for charts as always. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.